Senator Alex Padilla, who sits on the Judiciary Committee, and questioned Todd Blanche during his confirmation hearing earlier this month. Senator, good to have you on today.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
So let me ask you a very basic question here about motivation. Why do you believe the president is so dug in on not putting in writing that the anti-weaponization fund and the IRS settlement are dead, as Blanche is promising?
Well, let me say a couple things. First of all, it couldn't be any more clear. Clearly, Donald Trump would rather not have a confirmed attorney general overseeing the Department of Justice of the United States of America than to have to put to bed this anti-weaponization fund. Can't see it any other way. By the way, the anti-weaponization fund is just one fund. Should it be created or not? Of course it shouldn't. But I'm also worried about other mechanisms for the Department of Justice under Todd Blanche's leadership to give payments to January 6ers and others. I asked him that point blank during the confirmation hearing, and he refused to answer, which brings me back to my biggest point of all. Todd Blanche has been and continues to be Donald Trump's personal lawyer. When asked about the independence of the Department of Justice, or can he lead as Attorney General not under the political pressures or carrying out the political agenda of Donald Trump, he refused to say that. He says no, he's Donald Trump's lawyer. He said that in the committee hearing, a far cry from the professional, independent attorney generals we've had in the past.
Yeah, he had that awkward moment when he sort of said he was and then he wasn't. I wonder, is there reason to believe that the votes are going to be there for the president after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office? Because, of course, margins could be different after the midterms.
Right, as you said earlier, it's a big gamble on the White House's part. We know that the race to succeed Tom Tillis in North Carolina is a very competitive one. We know that the race to succeed John Cornyn in Texas is a competitive one. So I can see two Democrats taking their place, and I don't see those Democrats falling in line to confirm Todd Blanche.
I wonder, when you speak to Republican colleagues, are there any of them who, at least privately, are happy about the public stand that Cornyn and Tillis are taking?
Look, I've been these behind closed doors versus what they're willing to say or how they're willing to vote in public conversations going back 18 months now on a number of issues. The mass detention and deportation agenda of Donald Trump, his tariff wars that have made no sense, and he doesn't have the power to. This is just the latest issue that Republicans know the president is wrong on, but whether there's a political will to stand up to the president is a different question. So yes, I do think some are looking at Cornyn, Tillis, Cassidy possibly, hopefully others, to take that stand so that they may not have to worry about a tough vote for themselves politically. Bottom line, and they can replay the tape on the confirmation hearing. Todd Blanche is not qualified. He puts his loyalty to Trump over the Constitution of the United States, plain and simple.
Blanche, as you know, is already the acting attorney general, and there are a whole host of ways where he can maintain effective control over the Justice Department, even if he is not Senate confirmed as the attorney general. I mean, is there a true substantive difference if he is not confirmed?
Right. Well, that's certainly the question here. If he's already acting, he's been in the number 2 position under Attorney General Bondi for a year and a half. So why this rush to try to get him confirmed before the August recess? It really does make you wonder. But I can promise you this. When we regain the majority in November, you better believe that the level of oversight being conducted by the Senate and Congress as a whole is going to be a lot more and a lot better than what we've seen these last 18 months, because Republicans have refused to live up to their constitutional responsibility of oversight and holding this administration accountable, beginning with its weaponized Department of Justice.
Well, we'll see where it goes. A lot of close races to be decided in November. Senator Alex Padilla, thanks so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Jim.